preserve their immortality and their devotion to one another. He was Mausolus, the young king of Caria, a province of the Persian Empire in what is now modern-day Turkey. She was his lovely queen, Artemisia. The king and queen, husband and wife, were also brother and sister. Although such marriages were condemned throughout much of the ancient world, they were not uncommon in the province of Caria.
This whole idea of sister marriage is something that really seems to be just from this Carian dynasty, this one dynasty. Her other brother and sister were also married to each other. We don't know where this idea came from, if this was an explicitly Carian idea, or if it was just to this one generation. Certainly, incest of this type was looked upon very negatively by their contemporaries, and just as we do today.
King Mausolus was a man with a dream. He envisioned ruling a utopian, multicultural society without crime or poverty, where he would be worshipped as a god.
He is the architect of a new empire, a new state, and a state that must indeed have the appropriate physical monuments to show that it can rank with the great civilizations that it was contemporary with. The other side of his rule is a rule of extreme taxation, of extortion, of forced acculturation. People being picked up and moved from their old ancestral homes to populate his new city at Halicarnassus. And as a new city, it was a city with very few monuments. A grand building program was initiated immediately, and therefore taxation was high.
The enormous financial resources required to design his new metropolis caused great dissent among his people, earning Mausolus their hatred. He imposed heavy taxes on his subjects, and occasional attempts were made on his life, but all failed. Included in his vision was a plan for a tomb to hold his body and that of his sister, Queen Artemisia. It was by far one of the largest tombs ever conceived. But the exact appearance of this ancient structure has long been a mystery, challenging the imagination of generations of scholars and artists. It is believed to have been an extravagant combination of architectural styles and cultural influences. The base of the structure, containing the burial chamber, was in the Persian style. It was here that the remains of the king and queen would rest. On the next level, a Greek-influenced colonnade. Above that, surmounting the structure, an Egyptian-style stepped pyramid. Although culled from seemingly disparate elements, the sum total was an amazingly harmonious design, unlike anything ever seen before.
The mausoleum was especially famous for its statues. It had about 250 statues. Some of them were more than life-size, great big statues, and brightly painted. And they were arranged in tiers around the structure. The structure itself consisted of a tower-like building with a pyramid on the top as the roof, and the colonnade beneath, and then there were these steps with the tiers of statues arranged around them. The whole thing was built of marble, and so it would have been a mixture of gleaming white marble and brightly painted statue, and brightly painted friezes as well. It would have been really a tour de force of sculpture.
Artemisia commissioned the foremost artists of the time to create a multitude of statues to adorn the tomb. Though only fragments of them now survive, it was the larger-than-life marble figures and evocative reliefs that elevated the monument to the stature of a world-renowned wonder. Nicholas did not live to see the tomb completed in its full and final glory. When he died in 353 BC, his queen, Artemisia, ordered a lavish funeral in his honor. After he was cremated, she mingled the still warm ashes of her beloved brother and king with spices and wine, and drank the mixture from a golden goblet. The purpose was to mingle his flesh with her own, so that they could be united even after death. But this was not the only bizarre ritual that took place at the funeral. Archaeological excavations have revealed evidence of massive animal sacrifice on an almost unimaginable scale. The discovery of a pool of congealed blood on steps leading to the burial chamber, as well as piles of dismembered bones, indicate that hundreds of animals were slaughtered in honor of the king. Fate would soon intervene in the story of Artemisia and her beloved king. She would live only 2 more years following his death. After she died, the mausoleum sculptors continued with their work, even though the kingdom had fallen on lean times. The royal treasury was empty, and none of the laborers would be paid. Why they persevered without payment remains unknown. Perhaps they believed their work would imbue them, like their rulers, with the gift of immortality. The mausoleum stood proudly for more than 1,000 years before natural weathering and a devastating earthquake took their toll. Years after it first took shape, the Knights Hospitaller, among the last of the Crusaders, were awed by what remained. Nevertheless, the knights needed to reinforce their nearby fortress, the castle of St. Peter, against their enemy, the Turks. Thus they began to demolish the tomb, stone by stone, statue by statue.
We have some commentary from some of the knights themselves in terms of manuscripts, that they marveled at the scenes that they saw, hunting scenes and scenes of individuals fighting, animated scenes fighting in terms of conflict, Greeks and Persians, and Amazons and Greeks and Lapiths and centaurs, and they make notes of the wonderful scenes that they see. And then they toss the fragments, they break them down into smaller pieces, and they burn them to extract the lime to make cement. They literally removed almost all of the architectural structure, columns, and friezes went into the construction of the castle of St. Peter.